All right, everyone, get comfy on your back and allow yourself to close your eyes. Place your hands on your abdomen and the soles of your feet for now, just on the ground. So let's just take a few moments to tune in. Allow your belly to rise and fall underneath your hands. And just feel where your breath is today, where your body is today. Sometimes part of bringing our emotional body into harmony when we're feeling overwhelmed or when we're feeling anxious is to simply get close to the earth. Get close to the earth, put our hands where we can feel our breath, and just ride those waves of breath. If we can, instead of controlling the breath, allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm. It is an automatic movement, that respiration. And when you let your weight fall into the earth, you can really feel how the breath just goes on its own. So the figure 4 configuration is to take your right leg in this case and cross it over your left. So we're taking our ankle bone of our right foot and we're bringing it all the way over the thigh. And then we're going to push the right knee away from us. You can use your hand to push away. And what we're doing is we're creating like the number 4 upside down, right? In our legs. And as we press the knee away, you want to let your low back and hips be heavy against the ground. Even as you exhale, you can allow your navel to drop down towards the spine, towards the earth. Okay, so what that does is it just helps us to start move some breathing down deep into the pelvis. And then from here, you'll let your left foot come up off the ground. So it doesn't have to come high, your legs don't have to be really smashing into your belly, but you do want to feel like your left foot can float. Now take your hands, place your right hand between your legs at your hamstring, and then your left hand comes around and meets your hand. If you can, clasp them underneath at your hamstring. Good. And now from here, you're going to feel that configuration as you bring your knees in towards your belly. Start to open your hip and your right butt cheek and really feel how that opens you up. Now, if you don't feel much going on, you can always reach through, clasp the hands on the outside of the left shin bone, just under the knee. And again, as you hold here, take some deep breaths, let your belly drop back as you exhale. And you can also push your right knee away from you. That gives you a little more activity, as well as flexing your right foot. As you flex your right foot and fan the toes, you'll feel a little bit more energy coming in and support your right knee in this shape. Using your arms, draw your legs in a little closer. Move the breath down into the bowl of your pelvis and your belly. And again, feel that rise and fall. There's another option as we come here. If it gets to be too intense, of course, since we're just right at the beginning of our class today, you're always welcome to do the pose before. So we're slowly and gently bringing the pose into a deeper expression. So you can always come in and release, come back to that first position where you're taking your hamstring, or even come back to the first position where your foot is down, your left foot's on the floor. You know, you can always come back and make it easier. If you want to make it harder, if you want to go deeper, the next thing here is to take your left leg and straighten it up towards the sky. You might even be able to grab just above your knee near your calf muscle. Now, when you grab, you wouldn't grab between your legs, but over your legs. All right. And then here you can point and flex your foot a couple times and circle at your ankle. And once again, just let yourself open up here. Now, the pose tends to, because we're in this figure 4 cross, it tends to kind of put a little more pressure on our knee. So if you feel like you need to support your knee, just make sure that you're flexing the foot of that side. So in this case, it's the right. You're going to just flex the foot, and that helps to support the knee joint. Another thing you can do, whether your leg is straight or you've kept it bent, is you can rock your hips here. So you can literally just rock your body from side to side. And this side to side movement places pressure on all the bladder points along the sacrum bone. And incidentally, those bladder points along your sacrum bone, they are anti-anxiety points. They help us emotionally balance. So it's kind of cool that anytime you rock like this, it's helping to soothe, like a lullaby. It's lulling us, that rocking. Good. All right, anytime you'd like, you can kind of bring yourself back. Slowly begin to release your hands. Let your left foot come down first, then uncross your legs and place your right foot on the ground. Now, mind you, we just did so much work there on that right hip flexor and right hip side. So take a moment as we pause and notice, what does the right side feel like compared to the left? Just notice what's here. So in a way, between our poses, we take this stillness and receive the feedback loop from our body. We may notice our breath feels different. We may feel openness or tingling. We may notice the weight of our bones or our body against the floor. We can feel in comparison, after working the right side, what it feels like before we even begin on the left side. So just taking the time to feel and notice. And in these moments, you can also just tell your body, I care. You matter. I'm here for you. And we'll switch slowly over to the other side. So once again, just feel the feet on the ground, knees bent. For me, like, because after working on one side, I already feel such a significant difference. I mean, I can tell what side is next, you know. The other side, lefty's like, well, I'm ready now too, it's my turn. So let's cross the left ankle bone over the right thigh. And as we do, push the left knee away. You can use your hand or you can use the strength of your inner thigh. Take a couple breaths. And just know, it's okay to slow down. It's okay to use these poses meditatively. And let our body catch up to us. Oftentimes our mind moves so fast and our body is just stressed trying to stay up to speed. So a big part of emotional regulation and regulation of self in general is coming back to the speed of your own body, not the speed of your mind. So we let the mind bow to the body and let the body be our guide. So again, you may already be ready to come into the next phase. You're always welcome to. So begin to lift your right foot up off the ground. And then let's take the left hand between the legs, underneath at the hamstring. Let the right hand meet it. And then just kind of pull in a little bit. Just draw in, like the weight of the legs helps us begin to stimulate that left hip point. And today, wow, right away, you'll feel that side. And depending on how much tension we're holding in our hips, we may be able to go further and deeper, faster or not. So for me today on this side, it feels really tender, really intense. So I'm going to let my body and my breath just hang here until I get that deeper go ahead inside myself. So as I hold and I breathe, I may even let my head rock a little bit from side to side. Sometimes just moving the head and the neck helps us open our hips. Same with the jaw. You know, the jaw and the hips are really connected, so you can always open and close your mouth a couple times. Stick out your tongue. So make all those weird faces and then see if that helps to unlock your hips. You might be very surprised that a little bit of mouth opening and closing helps you be able to at least reach through and grab the front of your shin. So check that out. And then as you reposition, if that's what your body's calling for, let's close our eyes and take some deep, slow breaths, flexing that left foot, fanning the toes a bit, and letting the breath move down into the belly, down into the low back, down into the space just above your pubic bone. You can imagine as you inhale, you're reaching your breath towards your sitting bones. And as you exhale, you're letting your breath return and drop back into your belly. So we're truly feeling like we're giving ourselves a hug here and cradling our body against the earth. So if there's a little sway you want to give yourself here before we extend the leg, feel free. A little rocking. If you want to go deeper, you can straighten your right leg, reach it up to the sky. Take the hands above at the calf muscle, maybe even massage the calf muscle a little bit. Flex and point your right foot. Circle at the ankle a couple times. Whew. And you can pause, holding, breathing. There is one other little rock you can do here. You can just kind of wag your tail a little bit from side to side. So that's another little kind of rock you can do. It's not going to be big. It's just a slight little movement side to side. But it might get those parts and pieces of you and your hips that feel right to get today. One more big breath. And then feel free to begin to reverse your way out. We'll slowly let the right foot land back to the earth. And then uncross the left foot, plant it on the ground. And this time, bring your hands or fingers up above near your chest and collarbones. So another point, a set of points, very similar to the set of points, pressure points on your sacrum, are the set of points near your collarbones and breastbone. So just lay here for a few moments. Notice the change. If it feels good, you may want to lift your hips and set them back down again, kind of centering yourself on your mat. You could just give yourself little taps here with your fingertips, soft or even stronger if it feels right. Just tapping this breastbone. Underneath your breastbone lives the thymus gland. And the thymus gland, when it's stimulated, it helps to regulate sleep, helps to regulate our metabolism, our heart, all the rhythms of our body, hunger, and some hormone release. So as we tap, we're just stimulating and tonifying this area, giving it those little vibrations of our taps. And these are taps of pure love, taps of peace, taps of caring. Rest your arms down along your sides, pause. Perfect. So separate your feet so that your feet are touching the outer edge of your mat. And you may need to reposition yourself so you're right in the center of your mat. So I still have a little something underneath my neck. It's just a soft padding. If that feels good for you, stay with it. I'm just making sure I'm moving things out of the way from my legs. Okay, so we're going to do a little windshield wiper pose. But before we do, I want to adjust the configuration of our arms. So extend your arms straight up to the sky from here. Bring your right arm in front of your left, and then let your arms, elbows bent, hang. But as you do, turn your palms out. So you're gonna let your arms crisscross like a little pretzel over your chin or under your chin, and kind of like right around your neck, chest area. So it falls differently for everybody, just the shape of your arms. But you want to flip your palms up so the backs of your hands rest near your shoulders or the floor, and your fingers just naturally curl. Okay? With the right arm over, we're going to let the knees fall to the left. So I kept this configuration wide on our mat. If you need to change it for comfort, please do. But let the knees fall to the right. Just fall as they may, because we want the knees. You can see how my knees are separating, and my feet have just like fell on their sides, right? So letting the arms relax back into their sockets. Same with the hips. In this configuration, let the hips and the leg bones rest towards the earth, towards gravity. And then let your head turn to the left. Okay, we're going to relax here for about a minute. And again, we're letting that stimulation of the breath rise and fall. Try to settle in a little deeper. So if you notice, like, there's a part of you that gets tense or starts to tense up or is having difficulty releasing, and just let that area of your body get heavier, get softer, surrender towards gravity. Good. So now on your inhale, first bring your head back up to center, then bring your legs up to center. Uncross your arms, reach them to the sky, but let them extend out and overhead. So just going to reach them. Inhale, arch your back away from the floor. This feels so good. And then exhale, just return back. So the arms are down along your sides. Wow. So again, that it's amazing how much our yoga practice can activate healing for our body, healing for those parts of us that are a little congested or sluggish. And it doesn't mean we have to wake up so much as it is just let the natural process of healing for the body create that environment for that to happen. All right, let's do the other side. So again, we're going to reconfigure, making sure we're in the center of our mat. Feet are as wide as our mat. Take the arms up to the sky. Lefty gets to be in front first. Cross the arms over, turn the palms away, and let the arms fall as they may. So we let those elbows bend. It's a little uncomfortable, yes, because, our arm is kind of drawing in towards our throat, and we may even feel like it's a little choky in the beginning. So it's really for us, we want to just get to where those arms can be comfortable and where the upper arm bones can sink back, and the sense of the upper back getting heavier and those shoulder blades, the scapula on our upper back can flatten out, and that allows the bones of our arms to release. And this particular configuration helps with sensitive shoulders and pain in the neck and the shoulders and the upper back. So this should help, even though it is a little uncomfortable. Let the knees now fall as they may. Woo, I'm right there up against the wall. Okay, so as you let the knees fall, let them fall heavy and turn your head to the right. Close your beautiful eyes and let yourself be taken by the earth and gravity. Release and relax into your mat. And let all the muscles of your face soften. So it's not unusual to feel like an area of your body that wants to keep like gripping. So we'll send our breath to any areas inside of us that are having trouble letting go. And so you imagine with your mind, and you guide your breath with your mind to that area. With your inhale, you're inflating that area with your breath, no matter how deep, how far it is. And then as you exhale, you're encouraging that area to relax more deeply and let go. Soften a little bit more through your arms and shoulders. Let your scalp and your brow relax. Just a few more deep breaths here. Start with your legs and head first. Bring your head back up to center best you can. Let your feet come back to the wide end of your mat. Set your spine center. Inhale, take your arms up to the sky and then reach them out. Extend your arms, lift and arch your back. Whew. Give yourself a little yawn, a little stretch. And then exhale, release your arms down along your sides. Draw both knees in above your belly. Wrap your arms around your legs and just give yourself a little rock. Big circles with your knees. We're going to finish off with a little bit of a hip massage here with our ball. So let's take a little rock up to sitting. You may need to roll over onto your side to do that. We're going to place our ball into our hip, just under our right butt cheek. Now, I don't want this ball to be where your bone is. You want to get it right above your bone and then set your hips back down. You're going to use your hands back behind you, sort of as a support or a kickstand, and you're going to keep your feet pressing and then just massaging that right hip side with your ball. If you find a tight spot like I just did, whew, I can feel it all the way into my calf muscle. I'm going to stop and sink and melt. I might even let my knee open out. I might lean into it. And typically, if we sink and melt and just hold the position, sometimes we can get it to release and sometimes not so much. So just see what your body needs. So you can always just do little circles there into that right hip socket. You can always bring the leg up and out a couple times, or you can just keep that motion going. So we're just doing a little extra here in preparation for our next pose. So that outer hip area, if you want to get a little further into it, you can stack your knees to the right and kind of get yourself positioned so your ball is right under on the side or the outer thigh. And I need to use my back foot as leverage. So I'm going to bring my top leg forward in front of me, and I'm going to lean into that ball. I got it in a spot that I need it. Okay, so you're going to let that ball just sink and melt into the hip. If you need to readjust or lower it down against your thigh, you're welcome to do that. So you were just looking for that outer hip point where it needs a little bit more encouragement to release. So once you find that, take a moment to breathe. I'm going to just lift a little bit more out of my chest. So I'm going to elongate from my navel to my heart and really let that sinking and melting pressure into the therapy ball help me release my outer hip. Perfect. Take another big breath. Even maybe take the left arm and reach it up overhead. And exhale, release, set the booty back down, take the ball out of the way. And let's just come back to that first position we started with. And slip your hands either on top of your knees and sit up tall, or slip your hands under your knees and relax your shoulders down. And just notice how that right side feels compared to the left. And you're welcome here to also take a little seated arch and curl. Inhaling and exhaling if that feels right for you. I'm going to just do baby ones today, nothing too big, just so I can get a sense of my muscles against the floor. You know, when we rock our pelvis like this, we can usually get a sense for the tissue, right? And I'm getting some lumpy, bumpy feeling in my backside as I rock my hips. So I'm literally just going so slow that I can rock over those little lumps and bumps and give them a massage. All right, let's change sides, everyone. I'm going to flip so I can still face you. I'm going to start with my ball underneath my left hip, again from sitting. Soles of the feet on the ground, knees bent, hands behind you as little kickstands. It doesn't have to be placed in a position anywhere in particular. So you're just looking in the sort of deepest tissue of your left hip where you can sink and melt, where you can put a little bit of the pressure. And we're really looking for those parts that are tight. And we're looking for where the tissue feels congested. And we're using that pressure of the weight of our body and that ball where we're resting into to release the tensions. So again, once you find the sweet spot, might take your breath away, take a nice long inhale and exhale, and let your knee fall open. Oh, yeah. So once you get that knee to open a little bit, you might find, okay, I can't even let it get all the way to the floor, or else it'll be too intense. You can pick it back up again. I'm going to try not to make weird faces because sometimes, you know, when we're doing this work and we're trying to release something, it can get really intense. So you can just open and close the knee a couple times. Relax your jaw. Oh, there we go. You know, you can find the relief. And if you find a release point and you're like, okay, well, that was good. Let's try a new spot. I just found a new spot and wow, it goes again all the way down my outer shin bone. I can feel that tension on that whole entire muscle. So I'm going to let my knee fall. Again, if you want, you can kind of come over onto your side more and open to the left side of your mat. If that's the case, you can lean on your back foot. You can use your other leg as a kickstand. So I like to have my foot in the back at first, because then I can push my foot down as I lean into the ball. I can also adjust my lower leg angle. Okay, so I have it right under here. And as I'm leaning into it, I'm adjusting my pressure both in my foot and my hand, and also in the angle of my chest. Okay, so if I come forward, I take some of the pressure off. If I lean back, I get more pressure on. Okay, the more I kind of drop into my hip and the heaviness of my hip, I can really work out some of that tissue that might be really tight up against the top of the back end of my hip. All right, so as we work, take a little breath and smile, a little Mona Lisa smile if it's there for you. Make some space. And again, inhale deeply, lift from navel to heart. Good, maybe the right arm wants to extend up. That just might help us just get a little bit more energy and juice through the upper body. And then as we release this pose and start to come up off the therapy ball, take it out from underneath. And then once again, just set your feet down on the ground, knees bent. Take your hands underneath or in front of your knees. Sit up tall. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Deep breaths in and out. And if it feels right to give yourself a little rock, you can get your seated spinal rocks. And just notice how now where your sitting bones meet with the floor, where we just rolled out, if it's a little less thumpy and bumpy back in there. And we may need more. We may need more therapy ball work today. The good thing is your therapy ball is there for you even when you're not in class. So you can always lay down on the floor and work with it at any time. Or you can sit it under your seat while you're watching something on, like a show on Netflix. So you get to just decide. It's time to use the ball. All right, coming back up. Let's set the soles of the feet together. And we'll do a final little hip stretch from sitting before we get into our next one. So clasp the feet together with your hands. Sit up tall, press your knees down towards the floor. If for any reason you feel like your hips are way too tight to kind of press them down or to even sit up, you can always slip a blanket underneath your tush, or you can place your blocks underneath each knee. So take an inhale here, exhale, tip forward, and let yourself come forward. Another way to come into this pose is to bring your block in front of you, as long as your hips are happy, and begin to move your forehead towards your block. Sometimes it'll work and you can get your forehead to rest on it, and sometimes not so much. We do have a pressure point on our forehead, and you can use your ball for it, or you can stack your elbows and put your fingers on the point. Or if you're just coming through and you can't get anything, any support, you can use one hand on your foot and one hand at your temple, or I'm sorry, the third eye point. So we have two third eye points, one just right at the top of the nose and one just right there between the eyebrows. So either point works, and any of those configurations. We're just taking 30 more seconds now to sink and melt. Some pressure down into the third eye point. Good, slowly inhale, coming off. Releasing the point. And coming back upright. All right, transfer your weight onto all fours, so tabletop position. As you come into tabletop position, you'll want to have all your props handy. I'm going to put a little lozenge in my mouth. And make sure we don't get any more dings here. There we go. So from all fours position, curl your toes underneath behind you. Hands just in front of your shoulders. Tuck your chin down, tuck your tail under, give yourself a nice round in your back. Push, 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 and tuck, tuck, tuck. Chin to chest. Good, and now opposite movement. Push the tail feathers back, draw the chest between the arms, tip the head up, gaze up. So a couple more just like that. You're getting your full range of motion through your spine and through your pelvis. After you've done these 2 rounds, untuck your toes and then do 2 more rounds with the toes untucked. And just see if, see what kind of range of motion changes just with the feet change. And then come back to all fours. Take your right knee and bring it up towards your right thumb side. The left leg is going to stay extended behind you. Walk your hands forward. So right now I have my foot underneath my right leg, right hip. Move your right heel over towards the left side of your mat. Okay, so I have my toes kind of bringing it over. So then now either my heel will be at my pubic bone or my heel will be over by my left hip crease.
So this is called pigeon pose, right? Pigeon pose is one of our best hip openers. It's also a back bend when we do it upright. Kind of feel how my back is arching and extending. It's not easy for everyone. So if you find this pose difficult, there's several things you can do. You can take your blanket or your block and place it underneath the forward leg hip. So in that case, I would take that and fill in the space between the floor and my body so I can actually rest my hip on the blanket or the block. And then from here, I'm going to turn so my fingertips are pointing forward. I'm going to tent my hand so I can push the floor. If you can't reach the floor well, you can always take your block underneath your fingers and push from there. So I want to get that upright position. I want to feel the stretch along the whole entire front of my left thigh. Okay, so that's phase one. And then phase two is to come forward and rest. As we come forward and rest, we pressurize that forward knee. So the best thing you can do for that forward knee is keep that right foot a little bit of flex or activity, and that helps to support the knee joint. The other thing is not coming down too far, or if it's really problematic, this pose, you can always take it onto your back. So in other words, if that pigeon facing down is too much pressure on the knee, you can bring your pillow underneath your head and get that same shape in your leg, but from laying down. And that just will help too. For those of you who have sensitive knees, still get this wonderful stretch without hurting yourself. All right, so wherever you decide to work, we're going to close our eyes and let ourselves really dive deep into that right hip. So I'm going to come down onto my forearms for where I'm going to work today. I'm going to keep my back foot extended and lower my head down towards the floor. And then we're working on bringing the attention into each side of our hips. So while our outer hip on our right side is getting stretched, the front of our left hip is getting stretched, right? So both sides we want to feel. And if I need to rock a little bit from side to side, I want to level my hips out here. Like two scales, I want to bring that evenness. Same with my shoulders. If one shoulder wants to kind of tilt up, I'm going to try to bring my shoulders to level. You can even come down further. They call that the sleeping swan pose, lowering all the way down. Let's give it 3 more breaths wherever we can be. And then walk your hands back. So it's a big pose, right? If you're laying on your back, you're just going to bring your knees back into your chest. If you have a blanket there, let's move the blanket out of the way. As we come out of the pose, you're going to curl your back toes under, lean forward, push the chest forward, and lean the right leg back. So you can come back to table position. I like taking a little down dog in between. So if you'd like to join me in down dog, take your hips up to the sky and press your heels down towards the floor. And that's a nice counterboat pose filled with lovely symmetry. And then we can also see how that pose, what the feedback is. Right to left. Good. Coming back to all fours. We'll come again to the other side now. Untuck your toes, take your left knee forward towards your left thumb side, slide your right leg back, and we'll bring our left foot to the inside of our right hip crease, or the left heel can be just underneath the hip. Good. All right, so just find that perfect configuration for you. Press up, so you push your fingers into the ground and you let your chest rise up. So this really is like a pigeon, right? Puffing up its chest. And so this particular pose is a little bit more active. It opens the heart. It opens the legs and the hips. It helps us get that little bit of back bend with the hip opener. And you can imagine that any tension in the hip is starting to release as we open. Okay. Start to journey forward, walking the hands out. If you want to add some support underneath your left hip, you can use your blanket and fill in that space between your hip and the floor. You can walk your hands out and lower your forearms down onto the ground. You're even welcome to rest your head down. I like to use my pillow. You'll rest your head down. And say this knee side doesn't feel so good. If you're feeling that, you take the pose onto your back with the same configuration, just laying your head back and bringing your leg across your belly and hugging your arms around your leg to kind of draw it in. And staying with our pigeon pose. Relaxing and dropping. Come back to your breathing and letting the weight of your body sink into the earth. Okay, so empty out all your breath, exhaling it all out completely. And then walk your hands back in towards you. Tuck under your back toes. Move your blanket out of the way. And those of you on your back, you can just draw your knees into your chest. I'm going to go back to down dog on this one, sliding my left knee back first to table, and then pushing the hips up to the sky for downward facing dog. Slowly bring your knees back to the earth. We'll take our blanket and let's set our blanket up at the wall. So I just have it folded, so it's maybe about 3.5 inches thick, not too high. And I'm just placing that blanket right up against the wall. This is going to help support the low back. If you have your eye pillow handy, you want to grab your eye pillow. If you don't have a good wall space, you can do the same position we're about to do with the seat of your chair. So you just bring the chair in and you bring the seat of your chair. You may need a pillow behind your head. I'm not gonna use one today. And we are gonna go right into our relaxation pose now. For me, legs up the wall is the ultimate rejuvenator pose. If you feel exhausted, tired, and you know you have things to do and you just want to really honor your body, you can take 10 minutes out of your day and do this pose at the wall. It's known as Viparita Karani. It reverses the flow of energy. And as we reverse the flow of energy, we begin to neutralize, right? We come into balance, come into emotional harmony. So this is the most emotionally harmonizing pose as well. One more thing about legs up the wall pose. If you're feeling really energized and almost too stimulated, it helps to bring you also into balance. So to me, if we had an adaptogenic pose, legs up the wall would be it. All right. So I'm going to start close into the wall. Can be hard to get into, by the way, especially at the wall. Close into the wall, and then I'm going to lean my hips to the edge of my blanket stack. Get onto my elbows, and then as I do, swing my legs up. Okay. Now I have a little distance between my butt and the wall, and that's okay. So I'm gonna just let my hips be slightly elevated. My legs are like form one pillar. So two pillars form one. I have my ankle bones connected, and I'm gonna rest my hands either on my belly or on my chest or along my sides. You can also take your eye pillow and place it over your eyes. So we're going to have some time here today just to relax and let go. And let the magic and the medicine of this pose activate through us, balancing and releasing, opening, tonifying the legs, tonifying and bathing all of our systems. So allow yourself just to drop and rest here.
And anytime you're welcome to bring your knees in above your belly or change the configuration of your legs. You can bring your soles of your feet together and your knees open if you're at the wall. You can also let the legs scissor out at the wall and work your inner groins. So let's just take one more minute here as we've shifted our legs a little bit. We'll begin to bend your knees. Plant your feet on the wall with your legs wide. So it's like we do a little happy baby here. If you'd like, you can place a hand under each knee just for support on your groins or on top of your knees, and you can push your feet into the wall a little stronger. Let's take about 30 seconds here, just breathing. Focus on the abdominal breathing. If you have an eye pillow on, remove your eye pillow, set it off to the side. Take your left leg and stack it right on top of the right as you roll over onto your right side. So you just try to roll as much as you can off your blanket, off your props. Rest here for a moment. Using your hands, press your hands into the floor and gently make your way back up. So we'll meet each other at our computers. Find a comfortable seat. Relax your shoulders back. And taking some long, deep, slow breaths. And then just let your breath return to its natural rhythm. We'll just take a few moments here in meditation. Just receiving the peace and the harmony, the balance, softness, resting inside the breath.
I have two more very gentle, very easy acupressure points for you to learn today. And they're ones you can really do anywhere. So the first one is from the center of your palm. So this is called pericardium 8-point, where you see the arch around the mound of your thumb. It's right on the inside of that. So you can take your hand, back of your hand, your left hand would rest on the back of your right, and then the thumb is pressing. You can just let the hands rest in your lap or wherever it's comfortable for you, and use the pad of your thumb to press down into the center of your palm. So we'll take about a minute here. And soft, even breathing. Good. So feel free to switch the crossing of your legs as you switch to your left thumb or left center of your palm with your right thumb and press down and in. You might notice one side's a little more tender than the other. I'm just giving a firm but sweet pressure. Whenever we need to hold our own hand, whenever we need to feel comfort, this particular point is really helpful. Pericardium, or P for short, 8. Sometimes the mind just naturally jumps around in meditation. So if you find yourself a little jumpy, one of the best ways you can do is just focus on that pressure point spot where you're pressing. And just let the breath become slow and steady. It's like normalizing the gentle sort of pulse or rhythm of your breath and letting your mind focus there. And especially if you lower your awareness down into your belly or into the bowl of your pelvis, it really helps to kind of move the energy out from the head and down into the body. Okay, final point. So the final point is on your middle finger. It's on your middle finger on the index finger side of the nail. Okay, sorry. Using our thumb, and we're going to press the inside point of the middle finger thumbnail. Okay, so you make this sort of mudra with your hand. Okay, so I'm using a pressure. So my thumb is pressing right into that point. I'm going to do it on both hands. Okay, this is pericardium 9. Okay, it's actually a self-love point, self-care point. So we know that middle finger, what it represents. And so when we tune in to pressurizing that middle finger, we're releasing some of that, like that anger, that deep-seated frustration and aggression, and whatever it might be. We don't even need to know. We can just know that those emotions exist. It's healthy for us to feel anger, but it's also helpful for us once we feel it to let it go. and to not let it continue to bombard us with negative energy. So as we hold this point, you can imagine, or you can affirm once again, I care. I matter. I hold myself through this, whatever this may be. I feel and I let it pass. I feel fully whatever it is I'm feeling. And I let it pass. I let it drop away. When it's done, when the feeling is done, I let it go. So just softly open your eyes. If you'd like, you can keep holding that point for as long as you'd like as we finish up our practice today. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be peaceful and happy. May all beings everywhere know the light of their true nature and live from it. And may we all be free. In these times of change, both within and in the collective, we hold ourselves high and we let ourselves be supported by something deep within that is content, that is peaceful, that trusts, and that cares. May you bring that into the world with you today. Namaste.